Thank you for joining me for today's message, which will focus on recognizing Jesus when he showed up. Because we see all throughout the Bible, Jesus likes to come like the anonymous boss. Have y'all ever watched that show where the boss comes in and he acts like he's actually working for the company? He's an employee, undercover boss. And all along, when he reveals himself, he finds out who his true employees are. He finds out who are the true servants, right? And so I feel like when Jesus always shows up, he shows up like undercover boss in forms that we don't recognize. Like when he was on the road to Emmaus and the two disciples were walking beside him and they were talking together. They didn't recognize Jesus. It wasn't until they invited him in to break bread that their eyes were opened. And it takes the Lord our God to open our eyes to his true identity. And we see it all throughout the scriptures. We see Mary when she's at the tomb and Jesus shows up. She doesn't recognize him, but she sees him as the what? The gardener. Until Jesus says, "Mary, it's me." We see it also when Jesus comes back and, wants to help the disciples to catch fish. It wasn't until they heard his voice and recognized him through his voice, because they knew the shepherd's voice, that he said, "Cast their nets," that they would awaken to who Jesus was. When Peter was on the boat and the waves and the winds were roaring, remember when they saw Jesus walking on water and they said, "Who is that?" They thought it was a spirit, until their eyes were open to his voice and he said, "It's me." And once Peter recognized Jesus' voice, he asked him to what? "Bid me to come upon the water." And this is the importance that I really want to share with us in knowing the Master's voice. Because he can come looking disguised in packages we don't recognize, like the Pharisees and Sadducees who had so much religion. They knew this word inside out, but the scriptures, he said, "You know the scriptures, but you do err because you can't even see me within them." It's kind of like when people argue with you about Jesus. Where was he in the Old Testament? They don't have eyes to see. Jesus was literally all throughout the Old Testament into the New Testament. Like they say, the New Testament reveals the Old Testament, and the Old Testament is just the New Testament concealed.